with the latest on the corporate front, all the market trends, expert opinion, and sound business advice. It is your unique window into the business world, direct from the heart of China.
Hello and welcome to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. Coming up, we will have half an hour of business news and analysis. On today's show, China's manufacturing expansion hits a 3-year high, pointing to a steady recovery. And the UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution by China calling for stronger international cooperation on artificial intelligence. And now let's begin with our top story. China's private Caixin manufacturing PMI survey, which covers smaller firms, reached a 3-year high of 51.8 in June. Analysts say this is pointing to a steady recovery of China's economy. Meanwhile, the official manufacturing PMI released by the National Bureau of Statistics remained at 49.5 in June. However, the sub-index for high-tech manufacturing was over 52, showing that high-end manufacturing expanded faster. So what's the current state of the China's economy? What are the signals behind the indicators? And what are new drivers for the economy as a whole? For more on this, joined us on the line now are Professor Qu Qiang, Fellow of Belt and Road Research Center at Minzu University of China, Yan Liang, Professor of Economics, Willamette University, and also Dr. Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow with the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. So, Professor Qu, I will start with you. The official PMI from the National Bureau of Statistics actually focus on the larger state-owned enterprises, and the Caixin PMI actually reflecting smaller private firms, and that shows the factory activity expanded at its fastest pace since May 2021. So what does this tell us about the overall health of China's economy?
Well, I think overall Chinese economy is steadily recovering, and especially the manufacturing sector is in an expansion. And especially, in the manufacturing, we see the high tech and the machinery in the digitalization or green transition reoriented. Manufacturing has been seeing its peak and have a really good momentum. But basically, we've been seeing that there are divergence happening between the very large national economy as well as to the small-sized high-tech companies. The reason for that are two. Number one is, I think, private sector was supportive of the national policies are actually being shifting really quickly. And also we've been seeing many new technologies have been popping out like AI and also like, the next generation of the infotainment systems on the cars as well as the electric motors research and development for the EVs are also making progress. These are actually always a strong suit for the small but high-tech companies. And also we'll be seeing in the international arena, those companies have a more flexible play and operation internationally. For example, they can shift their production lines to ASEAN nations, and also the shift their research and development to certain other countries, so they can optimize their costs and benefit. But for the very large national companies, internationally we've been seeing trade conflicts are still happening, and also there are many technology sanctions or blocking downs are happening to them. So that to some extent have limited their play in the international market, and they are trying to adjust to that kind of a change and adapt to the reality. So shifting gears need time, so they try to be stable in the first place and then seek more progress. And I think that explains most of the pictures in Chinese economy right now.
And Yan, so what do you see in terms of the resilience in China's high-tech manufacturing sector, and especially what are the more innovation-driven sectors of China's economy?
Right. So I agree with Professor Xu. I think China is undergoing this transition. And so there are definitely companies there taking the lead, and there are companies there yet to adapt to the new reality. And I think one of the biggest changes is this fostering of the new quality productive forces, and that is manifested in this high-tech pivot. So manufacturing in terms of industrial output that has been growing very strongly, and the high-tech manufacturing is even growing faster, especially when you look at manufacturing output, high-tech manufacturing output, high-tech exports, and also high-tech sector investments. They're all growing much faster than the general industry. And there are some definitely industries that are standing out, for example, like the EVs, like the batteries, and also solar panels, and also integrated circuits. Also the so-called low altitude economy. Those are all growing spots of the current economy. So I think the trend has been now we have these leading sectors. They're employing high tech. They're also spurring a lot of investments. And some of these high tech sectors are also general purpose technologies. So they will go into, for example, the 5G network and also the AI technologies. All these technologies are going to be applied in a broader range of industries. And all these are going to help to promote the so-called total factor productivity. So I think this is really China's next growth sort of era, where this is driven by innovations and also by productivity growth.
So, Yan, you mentioned the low altitude economy. So why does China list the low altitude economy as one of the country's strategic emerging industries?
Right. So I think there are a couple of reasons. One is that this sector is definitely have a huge market potential. And second is China has the, I would say, first mover advantage. And third, I think, is this sector is really very encompassing. It includes many of different industries and also applications. So the so-called low altitude economy has already exceeded $69 billion value in 2023, which is 34% increase year to year. And this is going to expect to reach $2 trillion yuan market value by 2030, so 4 times from now. And like I mentioned, this encompasses a wide-ranging industries involving manned and also unmanned civil aviation vehicles. They're usually operating, under 1,000 meters, and therefore the so-called low-altitude economies. And the activities include, passenger transport, cargo deliveries, and many other operational tasks. And with this industry growing, this is also going to increase the high-tech manufacturing in the high hardwares, like fixed-wing airplanes, drones, helicopters, and so on and so forth. And this economy is going to be large and reach about 20% of the entire automotive market size in the near future. And one very recent news, and that is very exciting, is the battery manufacturer CATL has just tested 4-ton electric plane, which is powered by ultra-high energy density battery. And this is going to continue to develop. And by 2028, they're going to put out a 8-ton electric plane. And that's going to fly over 1,200 to 1,800 miles. So as you can see, this is a very exciting new area that is going to be powered by high-tech innovations, and it has really wide range of applications and market value.
So, Dr. Zhou, so the latest economic figures show that China's economy continues to recover with the stable production, demand, employment, prices, and strong export. So could you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, these are complete different sets of factors that we are talking about the economy. We have to look at different aspects. Maybe in some countries that they are really good at economy, from manufacturing or agriculture. But for China, different ministries are trying to develop the different sectors in different ways. So if you are looking at the data, not only from the government investment, but also from the private consumption, that most of the stakeholders are really have some confidence as at the beginning that we talked about the PMI. It's about an attitude and also an expectation. I think the market really has the confidence that we can do more to improve the efficiency of using the resources and trying to extend our reach to a new area and some of the innovative ways to deal with the situation. So because of this different, the space and in different regions and provinces, I believe that the investors are really having more confidence on the better using of these resources by making better use of the policies and also trying to involve more technology in the development. Well, when we're putting that economy, for China, it's really a very big issue. We are talking about that in an open world that China has so many partners. So for the global supply chains, you can find that no matter for the import or export, China has played a more and more important role in these connections, and many countries are really trying to have a better connection with China in different ways, like for the traditional products and also to do with some of those new products. So actually, I think that many of these aspects are really giving more strength for the China's economy to have a better performance.
And how do you see China's domestic consumption? What are the concerns and solutions regarding the consumers and their spending habits?
Yeah, first of all, I believe that consumers' abilities are dependent on their income. That is one of the most important thing, as we can find that after the manufacturing's recovery, that people are getting more salaries or income. They can be better, deal with their disposable income, and they can go somewhere if they have more time. While in the past several months, we observed that the tourism has increased a lot because of the holidays, because of some of these companies are changing their ways of doing business. So I traveled around in China and I found that a lot of consumers are really trying to do more. Well, the second is about the possibilities. The government is providing more scenarios or policies trying to upgrade the household appliances and also a lot of the equipment in the government. So I think that is also a very important increase or encourage for the people to consume, and the suppliers of those equipments can benefit from that. And the third one is that the mode has been improved or innovated. So we are able to use more digital ways to deal with connection between the demand and the supply, which is very important for us to improve the consumption abilities and trying to meet the different demand of the consumers.
And yeah, so the real estate sector is also quite important to China's economy. We are seeing positive developments are taking place in the property market, with the decline in the sales of new homes narrowing in the first 5 months. So what's your take on where we stand right now in the real estate market adjustments?
Right. So I think the real estate sector adjustment is necessary and it's needed, and it's basically prompted by the 3 red line policies implementing 2020. So we know that as China's population aging and also with the slowdown in urbanization, we cannot continue with the previous real estate investment driven growth, right? That sector has been highly leveraged and highly speculative. So we have to make the pivot away from investment in real estate sector to drive the economic growth. And I think China is undergoing this process where now a lot of bank credits and a lot of investments are taking place outside of the real estate sector. And I think that's a good thing. So what the government needs to do is to make sure that the slowdown in the real estate sector is going to have a contained financial risk, and also to find new growth momentum outside of the real estate sector. So if you think about this as the objective, I think China's economy is doing very well. The government policy has been really helping to stabilize the sector, to avoid financial risks. The real estate sector adjustment has always been a very painful process. When you look at the experience in the United States and also in Japan, they have undergone decades of very slow, stagnated growth. And I think China is able to avoid that by, again, pivoting away from the real estate sector and find new investment growth and also new growth spots outside of the real estate. So right now, what you're seeing is that the real estate sector is continuing to adjust. At the same time, the government has launched a slew of policies, for example, make sure that the houses that have started and have pre-sold will be finished, also providing necessary liquidity for some of the viable real estate developers. I think this is very important. And finally, the government has been setting up, the central bank relending programs of about $41 billion to purchase the existing properties and use them for social housing. And I think this is a great policy. It's a one stone hits two birds, help to stabilize the real estate market, but also utilize the existing properties for good social causes. So I think all these are, in the good developments, and I think this will help China stabilize the real estate sector and push forward the broader economy.
And so, Dr. Zhou, so the international organizations like IMF, like World Bank, and some market analysts have raised the forecast for China's economic growth. So why are they confident about, the future development? And are we going to see more overseas investment coming into China? And for investors, where is the new opportunity in China?
Yeah, I think that there are so many opportunities here in China, like for what it can do to improve the integration of the different cities in the regions and trying to build a better integration, like for the Yangtze River Delta regions and also for the Great Bay Area of Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. So actually, that there are so many integration factors to support the better use of the resources. And what's more, I think that more investment can go to some of these, more potential areas, like in the digital areas with the big data and the cloud computing, that they are able to change the mode and pattern of the industries into a better and new one. So actually, that is the reason. One of the reasons I believe that the international organization has put some of the, more credit on China's economic prediction. So I think that for their modeling and they are based on the data and some of this the indicators that the governments are showing to them, while some of this information coming from the private sectors, from the enterprises. So they have some of the common understanding about Chinese economy because they see that Chinese government is really able to handle the challenges, like for the real estate, for some of the debt issues, and we are able to try to open more fields for the investors. That is one of the reasons. And second is that China has good relation with our trading partners, and we are not trying to isolate ourselves or isolate some other country. We are trying to establish the better connections in the international governance issue, and that is definitely good for improve and increase of the international trade and investment.
So, Professor Chu, for investors, where do you think are new opportunities in China?
Well, I think for the investment in China, high technology is definitely the area you would like to look into. Besides already, championed, the area already championed, like lithium battery, like EV. And I think AI is definitely somewhere you should look into. Look, OpenAI and some other companies have already faced a huge investment. If you wanted to go into that area, come on, they're already in the round C or round D. So the stakeholding is really very high. And the prices are already very high. The valuation is like skyrocketed through the roof. But if you take a look at the Chinese players, we have the Qven, we have Tencent companies, we have the Kimi, we have many of the big language models happening in China, and they are ranking in the whole world. Ranks very, very high. And I think their evaluation and the investment rounds are still in a early stage. So I think there's somewhere something you should look into. And also talking about the education, culture, consumption, tourism, this kind of the service sectors, China is just in the early stage. China just shifted gears, trying to evolve from a manufacturing-dominated economy to a consumption and manufacturing and technology balanced developed economy. So, which simply saying is shifting from the middle-income country to a high-income country. So when these change really happened, a nation, they usually will see service sector passing 50% of the GDP share. And China, take a look. Does China have its famous Disneyland? Does China have its famous comic or the anime or the movie sequel IPs? I don't think China have enough of them right now, like Disneyland, like Universal Studios. These kind of areas really worth being looking into. You're looking at 1.4 billion people, the market, and with rich culture deposit featuring the Eastern Asia and Chinese civilization. So this is something I think it's probably one of the richest culture mine in the whole world. So this is also needs to be looking into. And more than that, we have traditional areas been evolving really fast. For example, like the clothing and textile, and also like the new materials, like the pharmaceutical industries. Those things are also evolving really fast. So, China is a country never lack of imagination and opportunities.
Well, we're speaking with Professor Qu Qiang, Fellow of Belt and Road Research Center at Minzu University of China, Yan Liang, Professor of Economics of Willamette University, and also Dr. Zhou Mi, Senior Research Fellow with the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation. And after a short break, we'll take a look at international cooperation on artificial intelligence. Stay with us. You're listening to Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. The United Nations General Assembly has adopted a resolution by China calling for stronger international cooperation on artificial intelligence. China says it is essential that developing nations are not left behind given the rapid development of AI techs. For more on this, I earlier spoke with Andy Mark, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Thank you very much for joining us, Andy. So first of all, what's the current situation of the worldwide progress of AI development, do you think?
Well, that's a complex question to answer, Zhao Yang. Certainly, there's been enormous attention paid to generative AI over the last year or so. But we also have to recognize that in areas like image recognition, China has been the undisputed leader for a number of years. So I think overall, what most people would agree on is that whatever kind of AI we're talking about, we're certainly witnessing very, very rapid developments.
And how can we assure that developing countries can effectively enhance their AI technology and application capabilities? And how important is it to them?
Well, I think this is vitally important, not just for developing countries, but the world overall, because we have to recognize that there are still many, many billions of people around the world that have not yet been able to enjoy the benefits of advanced manufacturing, many of the other things that we associate with modern life in the developed world. And here I want to compare artificial intelligence to electrification and in particular the light bulb. So if we go back, a long time, maybe more than 100 years, what we saw was that with the introduction of the light bulb, people could work for longer hours. They could improve educational outcomes. They would improve productivity through every type of productive activity, farms, businesses, schools, hospitals, etc. And this, of course, powered industrial growth and raised the living standards and life expectancies for people all around the world. And I think that I see AI is very similar in this regard. And what made this possible, besides the technological breakthrough, was the role of governance and standards. So in particular, the establishment of regulatory bodies, implementation of uniform policies, quality and safety assurance, and then investment in infrastructure. And then finally, the ability to mass produce light bulbs. So I think that this is vital for artificial intelligence, that if we follow this checklist of steps, then I think most, if not all, developing countries around the world will benefit from artificial intelligence.
And when we talk about technology, of course, it shouldn't belong to just one company or one country. It should be beneficial to people all over the world. So how can we balance in interests and needs of business and governments and, between different countries to achieve the goal of equal participation and equal benefits for all?
Well, I think this is going to be an incredibly challenging and complex undertaking just because, quote unquote, equality might be very hard to agree upon. But I think certainly there's a lot of room for progress in this area. And I think it has to start with making sure that everyone is represented. So at the global level, countries large or small, technologically advanced or not, all have a voice and have input. But I think also other stakeholders need to be involved as well. So I think this is the first step, which is why I think it's very encouraging to see the recent UN AI resolution that was initiated by China to focus on capacity building to specifically address these types of questions.
And some people say that the world is seeing a fragmented approach towards AI. So what do you make of that? And in order to avoid the fragmentation, what kind of cooperation should be done by the international communities?
Well, so here I would go back again to the comparison to the light bulb, in that without uniform policies, without standardization, things like voltage, safety standards, the how light bulbs are manufactured, that you will not have as great cost competitiveness. And of course, that will then exclude people from enjoying these benefits. So I think this is certainly one. I think the next step after a non-binding UN resolution is the establishment of norms, other types of policies that are more enforceable and uniform, that build upon this foundation. I think these are very important next steps.
And how to strike a balance between the technological innovation, application, and the regulation of AI, do you think?
Well, I think, again, this is another very complex and challenging area. As we see in certain parts of the world, some companies that are leaders in this field exercise what many would consider disproportionate or too much power and influence. So I think governance, of course, matters, not just having the right principles, the right policies, but I think also the capacity to enforce these policies is very, very important. And of course, countries differ in this area. And I think a greater standardization in this area, of course, would also be very valuable.
That's Andy Marks, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. And with that, we end this edition of Biz Today. I'm Zhao Yang in Beijing. Thank you so much for listening.